Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say.
Hello, and this is Truthslayer again, and this video, as the title says, is TNA fans need to demand better. And what I mean by this is TNA fans need to start demanding better from TNA, because honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of the fact that, in my opinion, there is no question in my mind TNA should be putting on a better product than they are. If we go back to 2005, and I think most of us would agree 2005 was an amazing year, at least pay-per-view wise, for TNA. And the fact of the matter is that they are not putting on nearly the same level of pay-per-views that they did in that year. Not only that, but the fact that you could legitimately argue that the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and Backlash were all better than any TNA pay-per-view this year. And that, to me, is unacceptable for TNA, because there's no reason why TNA should just be blowing WWE out of the water when it comes to quality pay-per-views. This is where they made their name in 2005. This is definitely what they should be doing. I've been following TNA since they were doing the 2-hour weekly pay-per-views. And to be completely honest, I'm just frustrated with seeing where this company's going, because I don't think they're going in the right direction. They seem to be more worried about copying and being, more like WWE, instead of being, in my opinion, what they should be, which is a true wrestling alternative to the WWE, which the WWE itself has said that a true wrestling alternative will be a much better product and a much stronger product to compete against them than trying to copy what the WWE has been doing. Simply look at the fact that the only reason WCW competed with WWE was because they copied what WWE was doing, but they also spent the money to get WWE talent. That's something TNA can't do. They can't offer, the top WWE talent the same amount of money WWE can. They just can't do it. So you're not going to get a massive exodus like you got back when WCW started kicking WWF's butt, basically. So they have to do it a different way, and the way they do that is putting on a true wrestling alternative, put on more a traditional wrestling show. The fact that that Impact is often, you can debate that Impact is the third best wrestling product on television right now. And that's not even including, the luchador stuff, which is probably better than Impact too. I mean, the fact that you can legitimately argue that ECW is as good as a 1-hour show as Impact is ludicrous, and just shows that that program has huge flaws in it, and the fans need to demand that TNA put on a better product. They need to demand that, they're not trying to put 5 matches on Impact, that it should be closer to 3 and at the most 4 matches on Impact a week. The fact that over the last 4 weeks, they've done a much better job of not making the show seem too rushed, but there's still been stuff on Impact that you just ask yourself, why is this on here? Why is this, on television? Because the fact of the matter is, and this may not sound fair, but it's very true, TNA has to hit on all cylinders. They can't be like the WWE and misfire, okay? They have to hit on all cylinders all the time, and if they're not, then they have to fix it. They can't afford not to do that. And like I said, it might not be fair, but it's reality. Like I said, the fact that they're not putting on quality pay-per-views anymore, and before that, people were willing to say, the TV show isn't very good, but the pay-per-views rock. Well, now the pay-per-views aren't as good as they once were, and so now it hurts them that the television show isn't as good. And the fact that the television show is not getting as good as ratings as the original ECW did, basically on the same network, when that network was a weaker network. ECW did not have the network support that TNA does, nor the time slot that TNA does. And the fact that they can't get better ratings, and the fact that they definitely can't get better buy rates on the pay-per-views. They're getting like 1/3 to 1/2 of the buy rates that the original ECW did back in the day. That's just not acceptable. That to TNA, and the fans need to start demanding. Because I say, hey, your fans are diehard wrestling fans. Start giving us better matches, start giving us longer matches, start giving us less matches on pay-per-views, but make them longer. When this year's Backlash, a lot of people pointed out that that was the type of show that TNA needed to put on. Less matches, longer matches, let their guys get over in the ring, okay? Give them time on the pay-per-view to get over in the ring, and you know, it would make for a much better product. The fact that they feel like they have to put all of these guys on television because they've signed far too much talent than what they should have anyways, because they keep worrying about this 2-hour deal. The 2-hour deal is nice and all, but they can't keep worrying about it. They can't keep hanging their hat on that. They got to keep plodding forward, and if that happens, fine. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, you look at their handling of Joe the last 6 months, the fact that he went from a guy who legitimately everyone was waiting on the edge of their seats till he won the title, and then Angle came in and basically squashed that. And now, six to 9 months later, we're still waiting for Joe to at least get, you know, he's gotten one title shot, and everyone's like, well, it'll probably be a Bound for Glory, but by then, the fans aren't going to care. The fans are going to go, yay, Joe finally won. Well, you know, the fact of the matter is they shouldn't have done the Angle Joe match right out of the bat anyways. It was stupid. I think everyone agrees with that. And so the fans need to start demanding it. The fans need to start demanding that the right guys get pushed, that the storylines be smarter, that they're not talking down to the fans, that they're making believable storylines. And, you know, the fans also have to stop chanting, you know, fire Russo, and actually, you know, pinpoint the problem. The problem is Jarrett and Mantell. Those are the two guys the problem. Is Russo a problem? Probably to some degree, but not to the degree the other two guys are. The fact that they're not pushing the right guys. The fact that they're not pushing their homegrown talent. The fact that they're willing to push, you know, the newest WWE guy they just signed over their, you know, homegrown talent, like AJ in particular, who, you know, has been with the company pretty much since day one, since Christopher Daniels. Same thing with Joe, who they pretty much, you know, they've made a national star more than, you know, Ring of Honor ever did. Those type of guys who have just been pushed because of Sting and Angle and Christian. And the fact that they haven't gone after the right WWE guys. The fact that, you know, neither RVD or Jericho seem like they want to sign with TNA. The fact that, you know, a year and a half ago when TNA had a legitimate shot to sign Chris Jericho to TNA, and Chris Jericho said, this is how much money I want, and they basically said, no, we're not going to pay you that much money. And here's a guy, in my opinion, I know a lot of other people's opinion, who could bump the ratings the way they thought Angle and Christian would bump the ratings. Here's a guy that legitimately people will turn in to see, and they're not willing to give him the money. Why? You know, why aren't they willing to, you know, to let guys go, to basically take that roster and cut it down to, you know, 15 to 20 guys that would be much more manageable? Why have they basically gutted their tag team division, which was one of their strong points and one of the things that they could point to and say, look, we have a much better tag team division than the WWE does. If you like tag team wrestling, here you go. The fact that I personally, and anyone that has watched a lot of my vids knows that I'm not big on the X division as a division. I don't think it should be a division. I think the X Division Championship should be like a television championship. But if you're going to have it, you have to give them time. You have to, you know, push those guys. And if you're not pushing those guys, then why have it? You know, the fact that you've basically been ignoring it, and the second that you seemingly maybe got it back to where it was when you gave the title to Jay Lethal, you then squash Jay Lethal so that you can give the titles to Joe and an Angle, which people are like, well, who gives a rat's ass? You know, yay, Joe has the tag team titles by himself. Whoop-de-doo, who cares? I mean, come on. I mean, it's time for the fans to start demanding better. It's time for the fans to start demanding better pay-per-views, a better television show, that they, you know, demand better angles, let their voices be heard. You know, TNA's audience is not very big, you know, and I think if the diehard wrestling fans, or diehard TNA fans that have been with them since day one, just start demanding better from TNA, I definitely think things can change, and then I think eventually TNA can be the promotion I think we all thought they were going to be back in 2005 when they looked like they were going to be the next great thing. That's all I got to say. I'm out. You all have a nice day.
Let's ride.